Pittsburgh Steelers fans, what is going on? This is Jeff Hartman, editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, with you for another episode of The Standard is the Standard. That's the BTSC flagship podcast, which means that I am joined by this guy. That's right, Lance Williams out on the West Coast. Cali, what's up, Lance? How you doing out there? Staying safe?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Yeah, man, staying safe. Allergies are kicking my booty when I do my walks every day. The pollen, man, is just out. I do a walk in the morning, lunchtime, and I try to get out in the evening. Try to get some vitamin D hitting my skin, man. The pollen is just outrageous. The pollen is not staying inside and quarantining itself. It is out in full blast. So if you got allergies like that guy, Jeff, who has bad allergies,
Me?
Yeah, you snort all the time. Sniff.
Must be habitual because I really don't have allergies.
You don't have allergies? I know you. Nope. Well, I know you sniff and fall asleep on Sundays. Maybe that's because the show.
You're thinking of now. This is something I do, and people that have watched our channel for a long time. If it's really late, and my wife knows if I start getting stuffy, like you feel that your nose gets stuffy. I do that when I get really tired. Like when I'm exhausted, That's like my body's way of shutting down. I don't know what it is, but it is allergy season. I'm thankful I'm not a part of that. But at the same time,
that's what it is. That's what it is on Sundays.
It's when I'm really tired.
Yeah. If you want to see Jeff sniff and fall asleep, catch us on a Sunday night game when he's doing the podcast at about 1 a.m. Yes.
I forget those are epic shows. I forget which game it was last year. And I was literally if those are watching 11D, I'm like this I remember I was falling asleep. I'm like, I can't do this. We've got to cut it because I'm either talking in my sleep or I'm not answering questions, either which are bad. So there we go.
They won. Next game over. Cut the show.
All right. Quick announcement. Tomorrow, Thursday, is the NFL schedule release. And the NFL always does this up big. They do a 2-hour production for the NFL schedule, and we are going to be here. I don't know if Lance will be joining us, but the Steelers preview gang, that's myself, Brian Anthony Davis, and Dave Schofield, will be on tomorrow shortly after the schedule is released. Once that article gets pushed out on the website, we will be going live, and we're going to break it down in every way possible, and we're going to give our predictions. And the biggest question is, Lance, is Jeff going to predict 16-0? You got to tune in to find out. You got to tune in to find out.
I definitely want to be. I definitely want to be a part of that show. So send me whatever. I will definitely be at home. Another question is: will Lance pick the Steelers to go 0-16?
Well, they do play the Bengals twice. So I'm going to say that you won't pick them to go 0-16.
And they play the Browns. So
the question will be: does Lance pick them to finish 500 or above? That's the tough question.
It's a tough prediction this year because everything, the $1 million or the the $41 million against the cap next year question is will Bionic Big Beard Ben come back and be that guy? Hashtag I didn't get my arm fixed to hand off. That's right. I love that. I still love that slogan. I didn't get a new elbow to hand the ball off. Let's sling that thing. Let's sling it. So we'll be here tomorrow. So make sure you check in on YouTube, search BTSC Steelers Radio. You can watch it live, talk about what you like, what you don't like. And we'll see what everyone predicts. I do know that Brian and Dave are a little bit more realistic than me. Lance tends to go on the hater side, and I am the homer. 13-3. Okay. That's just my predict. That's the one you like to predict. Is 13-3. That's your favorite one.
I think Felicia says it best for all of us out there, and it says, Lance, please don't root for the Steelers.
Oh, Felicia, you got them thinking the same. Oh, come on, man. You guys have converted Felicia. I thought Felicia was my friend. She's assimilated now. She's part of the Borg. So
that's right.
We still love you,
now.
Felicia.
This is potentially the crown jewel of the Steelers and NFL offseason up until we don't know what's going to be happening in terms of the return to facilities and how that might work with the current pandemic going on. I did see, Lance, you're a soccer guy. I saw this on Twitter today that the MLS has started to resume practices. And there's talk of, golf is coming back. I said that before. It's good news for the sports world. We'll see what happens. But as of right now, as we sit here on March 6th, May. Good Lord, quarantine brain. May 6th. As of right now, this is the last significant moment until we hear more from the NFL. So make sure you check us out. Now, tonight's topic is a little bit different. I really like this question, Lance. You brought it up in our production text message chain, and that is because you can go so many different directions when it comes to this question. And the headline is, what player benefited the most from the Steelers 2020 draft class? 6 players. We know who they are. Which player benefited the most? Now, did you want to elaborate a little bit before we get into this, or do you just want to head first? Let's dive right in.
Yeah, I wanted to just clarify because the question could be misleading. What player on the current roster benefited the most?
See, you took away the avenues, man. I was going this way, that way. I was going to bring up whatever.
You could still take a circuitous route to get to the point if you'd like
nice
to.
Nice word.
Yes, I'll let you do that. The floor is yours, sir. But I know the route I'm going to take based on kind of how I explained it. But
why don't you go first?
So, when I look at a draft, typically for a draft, when you draft particular players, it's with the thought that you are going to replace somebody potentially with this player. It's an upgrade to a position and or its depth on the roster. I think those are the general 3 things. There might be some others, but I think those are the general 3. Now, in terms of winners with those points in mind, I'm going to give you one on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. On offense, I think the clear winner is Mason Rudolph. And I'm sure your family is very happy.
Just my daughters.
They are. Your wife is secretly happy too. She just didn't tell you. She
probably is, and that's fine.
Mason's a pretty guy. I think Mason Rudolph has to be ecstatic. I think when you hear the comments of Kevin Colbert, you hear the comments of Mike Tomlin, even ownership, and the fact that they did not get a quarterback when you have Duck as your backup, and with Duck as your backup, they are saying that they have incredible amount of confidence in Mason Rudolph as their number 2, unlike the confidence that I don't have in Mason Rudolph. So I think the clear winner when you look at the draft is Mason Rudolph on the offensive side of football, because they did not draft a quarterback or a replacement and or bring in a free agent to make that room better, which I think is a mistake. And I've said ad nauseum on many a podcast in many different ways and in different languages and in different times and in different time zones. I said it in so many different ways. So I think the winner on offense is Mason Rudolph. I'll give you a winner on defense, but what's your thoughts?
Okay, I'm a scrambling quarterback. I can go with the flow. I'll give you an offense and a defense. The first name came to mind was a defensive player, but I'll give you one on offense. I agree 100% with your Mason Rudolph selection. I'm going to go with Stefan Wisniewski. And I'll tell you why. Because here's a veteran lineman. And right now, if you have him slotted as your starting left guard, his only competition without moving a starter on the line is a rookie. I like that. If I'm him, I like my odds. I really like my odds in this case to beat a kid that's really raw, who wasn't even invited to the combine, and Kevin Dotson out of Louisiana Lafayette. I like my chances. Now, that doesn't mean that the Steelers won't say we're going to move Filer down. I'm honestly not sold with Chukwuekorfor for Zach Banner as an every down right tackle. So we've talked about it before. Let's keep Matt Filer there. Let's not move 2 positions. If I'm Wisniewski, I'm pumped because they didn't go out and get a second-round guard. I've got a good chance at locking down the starting job. That's where I go on offense.
I smell with the Jeff is cooking. That is a great point. That is spot on. Like that's, if you listen to the show, Jeff likes to connect the dots in his mind and do his Rain Man. Sometimes he likes to connect the dots. I can see him connecting the dots virtually. You guys can't, but I can see it. That is an awesome pick because I think I agree 1,000%. Dotson's not going to beat out Wisniewski. If you watch Wisniewski play in a Super Bowl run for the Chiefs, he's not going to beat out Wisniewski. He's just not. He's too green. And with bionic Big B coming back in, you don't want the interior of your offensive line to be that inexperienced at one position to give up interior pressure.
Well, let me add to this too, because I know that Wes is saying if you think Dotson, and Wes Hickok, who's a longtime listener and viewer of the show, he says if you think Dotson's raw, you might want to go watch film. I have watched film because we've published a lot of film room articles on Dotson on BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, and everything that people like Jeffrey Benedict and Cliff Harris is still a punk. Our main X's and O's guys will say Dotson is a road grader. He is going to go downhill. He will push anyone and anything out of his way. Where does he struggle? Pass pro. What do the Steelers like to do a lot? Throw the football. So it's going to come down to what I think is it was Wisniewski. I think he's going to start with that job, and then we'll see how it plays out. But if I'm Wisniewski, if we're just talking about who benefits the most, I'm pretty excited with where things are, just like Mason Rudolph would. Let's go to defense. I want to hear your defensive pick.
On the defensive side of football, it has to be Vince Williams. Vince Williams has to be the biggest beneficiary of the fact that they did not take an inside linebacker, and they don't have an inside linebacker opposite Devin Bush, who is a person that can play 3 downs. The way they are situated and set up from a depth perspective, Vince Williams is a 3-down linebacker, which is a frightening proposition. Love his attitude, love that he's a thumper, and I love that he brings that old school mentality of trying to knock snot bubbles out of your nose. Love that. Don't love the fact that he can't run and cover anything. I don't know if he could cover himself even with his shadow close. I don't think he could cover even his shadow. So I think the biggest winner on the defensive side of the ball right now, because they didn't draft the position, is Vince Williams. Vince's snap count is going to rise appreciably if they don't bring a backup for him.
Again, agree 100%. And you actually took the one I was going to say, but hey, I'm shuffling, I'm moving, I'm chopping the feet. I'll give you another one. Terrell Edmunds. There's a huge gaping hole at safety, and they did not address it. People will say, well, Antoine Brooks can be that guy. And you know what? 6th round pick from Maryland. Not sure if he's a linebacker, if he's a safety, if he's a tweener. He's a box guy. He's physical, likes to go downhill and stop the run, which is fine. But if I'm Edmunds, just like Wisniewski, I'm sitting back thinking, man, I have 7 pass defenses in my entire career, and my job is safe. It's perfectly safe. Yes. So again, I had Vince Williams in mind when we went to defense, and that was actually the first name that I thought of when I was thinking about this show and where I was going to go with this topic. But secondly, I'd go with Edmunds. You may disagree.
No, I agree 100%. And I hate to keep agreeing. I mean, I love for some natural conflict on the show or something like that. But I agree 100%. I mean, but when you look at the 3 Ps, right? Productivity, price, and pedigree, he's a 1st-round draft pick and playing. I mean, and playing time. If you want to throw in a P, he's a 1st-round draft pick in Edmunds, who does not miss snaps. He plays every single game. I mean, that's his best quality. It's his availability, is his best ability. And you're just not going to replace that many snaps in sub package or base football. And because they didn't draft a safety, he's absolutely safe. Put it like this. He could open his garage, open the back door, and open the front door, turn on the 75-inch big screen, put a sign and says, I just got a new one, and wake up in the morning and know it's still going to be in the living room. he's not getting robbed. I mean, he knows absolutely he's going to start. And it makes sense, though. He's played all those snaps. He's got that much experience, and you want to keep him and Minka playing together because that's a good combination. Let that combination continue to grow, continue to flourish. They're 2 young guys. Let those guys play together so they can become a dominant backcourt, so to speak, at the safety position. But I like that pick, Jeff, with Edmunds.
Yeah. So the next topic is what we might disagree on. And you could go in a multitude of ways. We could go offense, defense again if you want. And that is, what is the biggest hole on the Steelers roster? You know, The main free agency wave is done. There are still players that could be added. We've talked about the potential of maybe bringing back a Mark Barron or someone like that. I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but still there are names out there. Free agency is basically done. And then the draft is in the rearview mirror now. The roster is essentially set. What is the biggest hole on the Steelers roster heading into 2020? Do you want to go offense and defense or just overall?
We can go offense and defense. Why don't you start us off since I started us off the last time?
Well, which side do you want to go on first?
You're an offensive guy. You like offense. You want to go offense first?
Okay, and let me just clarify. Are we doing just starting or are we talking about depth as well?
Depth as well. Hole on our roster.
Okay, on offense, I'm going to have to go with interior line depth because to me, when you lose to BJ Finney, who, boy, it seems like the Steelers just were okay with him going to Seattle. He didn't get a big lucrative deal there. You lose that guy that could play center and guard. Now, yes, Wisniewski is potentially that guy until he's your starting left guard, which we talked about earlier in the show. And now all of a sudden your depth guy is a part of your starting rotation. That's not really an ideal situation. Backup from those players, anything but proven. We'll put it that way. J.C. Hassenauer, backup center.
Who?
Kevin Dotson, exactly. Kevin Dotson as a rookie guard. You just don't have a lot there. That's, if I'm being realistic, I mean, you might go in a different way. I'm going to go with interior offensive line. What do you think?
Oh, y'all know which way I'm going. I mean, geez, I've told you. I've said it in 5 different languages. I've said it in different time zones, different shows, and in different ways. It's the quarterback position. That's the biggest hole in the roster because you have a 38-year-old guy with the restructured whatever he had. We don't even know what the injury was. The last time we seen him throw a football was in a gym, and we all were just jumping up and down like young schoolgirls, like cheerleaders.
The throw.
The throw. I mean, I was.
It was only one. It was
only one. I mean, the guy threw a Nerf. No, actually, he threw a real football, and we were just analyzing the spin velocity inside in the gym. It's the quarterback position. I mean, if Ben goes down, the season is washed. I mean, look, like I said before, whatever you think of Mason Rudolph, he isn't necessarily that. You could think he's the future. You could think he's horrible like pretty much I do, or he's woefully average. Whatever bucket you find yourself in with Mason Rudolph, you don't know. Why? It's not enough information. He is a huge unknown. And we know about Duck. Come on, man. How many t-shirts did you sell, Jeff?
It was actually not. It was actually a good many until he really turned around and just stunk it up.
How many t-shirts did you sell?
When Doug Fever was running wild, we sold a good many. I was very happy with it. And then all of a sudden, talk about a precipitous fall, man.
He became Peking Duck. Let's just say this, right? If there is any, and here's the other thing with Ben. We don't know if he's going to be Ben again or how long that's going to take. Those are huge uncertainties. So the biggest hole in the roster to me is obviously the quarterback position. Is there another position on offense you think is a big hole?
You see, if you're talking about depth, you could say quality depth at running back, but I have a question about your quarterback stuff because you and I, we can't disagree more on this. And you, the agitator in our podcast group text, get Dave Schofield so fired up about this. And it's because a lot of these players are going to cost a lot of money. Now, I still cannot believe how much Andy Dalton got with Dallas with $3 million guaranteed, $7 million. I think it's a 1-year deal. I still can't believe how cheap Jameis Winston was for the Saints. Now, there's 2 big names that are still out there. One, no one knows his health. No one knows his health. And that's Cam Newton. Okay.
That's not going to happen. And he wants to start.
Well, of course he wants to start. If he doesn't have that option, he's going to have to play somewhere. He's going to have to sit out. And let's be honest, you'd rather make some money sitting than you would not making money sitting.
True.
That's just my thinking. And then you have Josh Rosen. Let's start with Cam Newton. Let's play this game. Lance, what are you offering? You call up Kevin Colbert / Lance Williams. Cam, this is Kevin. We want to bring you to Pittsburgh. What are you offering him? Because the Steelers do not have a lot of salary cap space. He's a free agent. What are you thinking is going to be enough to bring it? Because that's my beef. Every time you bring up a quarterback's name, to me, it's not about that I don't want that player there. It's not that I didn't. Well, Andy Dalton's awful. I still believe that. Jameis Winston has potential, and he would be a decent backup because he could win you some games. It's not that I don't want these players. I just don't think it fits. So, Lance, with that said, you're going after Cam Newton. What are you offering him to get him to Pittsburgh under the current cap? I'm curious how you make this work.
Well, currently, Over the Cap is reporting that the Steelers have $5.7 million in cap space. Now, I'm not sure how much of that space needs to be allocated towards the draft class. If there's anyone
they've signed all undrafted free agents, have not signed any rookies yet.
And I don't think any of those guys count towards the top 51. I'm pretty sure. So they don't count against the cap currently. I would offer Cam maybe a 1-year deal for $3 million.
I try to get him. I guess
I was thinking 3 or 2.5. That's what I was thinking, around there.
It all hinges on Ben and his health, and it also hinges on Cam Newton's health. Because if Cam says, "Hey, I'm healthy. I just need to be able to see a doctor to get cleared. I'm healthy. I'm ready to go. Like, put me in. Let's play." If Ben goes down, I can go in and I can do the job. I'm fine with that deal you just mentioned. I might try to get 2 years, but that might not be in the cards. If I can get a 2-year deal, then that locks him in Pittsburgh for the next 2 years. If Ben does go down, this is kind of like what Dave Schofield's doing on the website right now, behindthesteelcurtain.com. He's doing like a let's make a deal. And he's picking these players that might be up for new contracts and saying, okay, let's figure this out. Like, well, what would the deal look like? Today he did Juju Smith-Schuster. But so you're saying you would offer him 1 year, $3 million. Yes?
Yeah, and they could go to Tuitt's deal to try to restructure that to get more money if they needed to.
That's true.
Only issue with Tuitt is health. But they could go and get Tuitt's deal. They could go to the bank of Stephon Tuitt and do something there because he's only 27. His base salary is $9 million. They could do something with the $9 million, give him a lot of that in terms of a bonus, cut that down to the veteran minimum and create some space that way. So they can make the room if they want the player. That can happen.
That's true. Well, do you have pause about Cam Newton though? I mean, is there a red flag going up when you're like, it's Cam Newton, former MVP, been in the Super Bowl?
It's the injuries. I can't, that's why I would not sign Cam, is because the injuries. I'm trying to alleviate the issue of an injured old guy coming back. I'm not going to sign a guy that's probably more injured than Ben. I mean, probably the best thing that can happen with Cam Newton is that he's out for a significant amount of time and can actually heal up and get better. Cam will be back in the National Football League at some point starting for someone because there are bad quarterbacks. A majority of the quarterbacks in the world are terrible, and he will be a starting quarterback at some point. But yeah, I'm thinking like 1 year, $3 million.
All right, so let's go to the other big name that we mentioned, Josh Rosen. Let's play the let's make a deal game. Josh Rosen clearly is not nearly as accomplished as Cam Newton is when it comes to playing quarterback at the NFL level. But I would say that a lot of people say he has potential. That's a dangerous word. I used to say that to my teams all the time when I was coaching. Potential is a dangerous word because you can believe in your own hype and then you never live up to it. What are your thoughts on Rosen? A, would you be interested in bringing him in? And B, what would the offer look like?
I'm trying to look him up, but the thought of, I'm looking up his salary here. So in 2019, he had a base salary of $570,000, a roster bonus of $709,000. His salary cap hit was $1.2 million. I love Josh Rosen at $1 million. I love Josh Rosen at $1 million as a backup. That makes more sense to me than Cam Newton. I don't know how much it betters the room, but he's significantly better than Duck Hodges, in my opinion. Definitely has more potential, more upside, given he was a first-round draft pick. Very good player at UCLA, very good high school player, prep player as well. He's been better than Duck Hodges, probably, and Mason Rudolph, probably at every level of football that they've played. I think a move like that makes the room better. And I think it would make Mason Rudolph better too. I think it would light a fire, hopefully, under Mason Rudolph, who I think, like we talked earlier in the show, feels really cozy, given the fact that he's been given a lot of superlatives by the coaching staff, ownership, and Kevin Colbert.
Now, Rosen, I agree when you were talking about Duck. I think if they were to bring in Rosen, and this is just my opinion, if they were to bring in Rosen, it is a genuine competition. I'm not giving I'm not crowning anyone, as Mike Tomlin would say, or as the late, if you want to crown them, crown. What was it, Denny Green?
Denny Green,
late Denny Green. You want to crown their ass and crown them. We gave the game away. All right. I would say Rosen could compete, but I'm not giving him the backup because let's be honest, Mason Rudolph and him in terms of NFL careers, they're pretty much parallel. I believe that Rudolph's stats are probably better. He played on a better team. I think most would agree with that, but it's interesting. And now Deshaun Kaiser gets released from Oakland. He's a guy that a lot of people had a lot of high hopes with when he was coming into the league. He spent time in Cleveland. He spent time in Green Bay. He went to now Las Vegas, and then they release him. It's going to be really I don't think they bring in anyone. Let's just put it this way. I don't think we bring in anyone.
Right. Unless Duck is just terrible in camp, if there is a camp. But I just had to laugh.
But hold on. To me, Paxton Lynch, if you can't, you're a first-round pick. Talk about pedigree. If you can't beat out Devlin Hodges after coming into the organization, having an entire offseason workouts, if they happen, which we all know that's the standard here in terms of the world we live in right now. If you can't beat out Devlin Hodges, you need to hang it up for good. That's just the way I think.
I would agree.
They might have their 3 quarterbacks on the roster already.
I would agree if you can't beat out Duck. And just think about this. Paxton Lynch was evaluated by the original number 7 that R7 loves so much in John Elway. I mean, this is a guy that knows how to play the quarterback position, played it at an incredible level, might have been the most physically gifted quarterback in the history of the National Football League. And he missed with Paxton Lynch. So I don't know. Paxton Lynch was kind of like really in the same kind of thought process I think that we're having about Josh Rosen. You've got a guy that's kind of not found his way, but has first round pedigree. So you want to kick the tires and see if there's something with that. If you can figure out and unlock the code, the key to the lock, so to speak, and get all of that out, and you luck into a guy that becomes what you thought or what the league thought he was going to be when he came into the league. I like that move. Rosen, I think, would be the same as that. But Cam Newton, he's just too injury prone. And that's why I think Cam does not have a job.
I got to be honest. I mean, you look back in history, the Steelers, especially recent history, they have gone out and made moves that no one expected them to make, whether it was the addition of Michael Vick at the time, whether it was getting Joe Hayden, who had been released by the Cleveland Browns. There are players the Steelers have shown that they're going to go out and get a player if they feel it's going to be worthwhile. I'm not sure if either of those quarterbacks fit the bill, but it's worth discussing. Now, go ahead. You guys say something?
Let me ask you a funny question.
Sure.
Do you think Ryan Switzer, aka Mr. Electronic Football Man, will be cut after quarantining on said quarterback's couch?
I think that
question.
I think that when we talked about the receiving depth after the draft pick of Chase Claypool on Friday, I think we said that he's probably going to make the team. I mean, you look at the numbers, if they keep 6 and, if Kareth White doesn't make the team, then he's going to be your return guy. We know that Ben loves him. They go to West Virginia basketball games together. They train together at Ben's house. He's a guy. He's his guy. He's going to be there. You just got to know it.
When your wide receiver is your valet, will you get cut? Who's a famous valet in wrestling? I'm trying to think of. Who's a famous valet? Miss Elizabeth?
You mean, you're talking about just like Virgil was a good one.
Yes, yeah. Maybe
Ted DiBiase.
Yeah, he's Virgil. He's the Mr.
That's too tough because Virgil actually got his own shtick and wrestled. I would definitely go with Sensational Sherry, maybe, or
Wow, sensational Jerry. Wow, look at you. You weren't
really
going
pulled that.
you weren't going to see Star Wars. You were watching wrestling.
I love wrestling back in the day. Yes. Elizabeth, get down that aisle. That was me. I wasn't watching.
You weren't watching May the 4th be with you. You were
No.
watching AWA, NWA, TNT wrestling, Junkyard Dog, all that good stuff.
Quick aside, I can still remember to this day. Now, my grandfather, my father's dad, died when I was in middle school. I can still remember as a boy walking to his house. He lived close to us. And Sunday night, he'd be watching WCW. I remember watching the Four Horsemen, Ric Flair, Sting early in his career.
Yes.
He loved it. He loved it. I loved it. And then I got into WWF and Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior and Bret the Hitman Hart and the Hart Foundation. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Let's not go too far here. We haven't even gone to the defensive side of the ball. We haven't even gone to the defense. And the question was, for those that might be joining us late, what is the biggest hole on the Steelers roster? We just got done talking about offense. Lance said quarterback. I said interior offensive line. Defensively, when I think about, I'm going to stick with the same player that I mentioned as the biggest the winner, so to speak, after the draft, and that is safety. I still don't like the depth at safety. Minkah Fitzpatrick is an all-pro player. Fact. He's a Pro Bowler. Fact. Probably the best young safety in the National Football League. Fact. But if he goes down, you're screwed. And I'm not saying that every team has a safety waiting in the wings that is capable and is more, is ready to go. But when your depth is Jordan Dangerfield, Marcus Allen, there's a guy from the XFL that they picked up. Maybe the rookie Antoine Brooks from Maryland. That's bad, and it's scary.
Yeah,
But that's where I'm going to go. I'm going to go with that. Who do you say? What position?
Let me give you the safeties. Let me just double down on what you're saying here, because when one of your best backup safeties is Johnny Dangerously, it's really bad. It's really bad when Johnny Dangerously is your backup safety. Let me give you the backup safeties. Marcus Allen, not the running back, the safety. John Battle.
Who?
Exactly. John Dash Battle.
Yep.
Antoine Brooks Jr.
Rookie.
Jordan Dangerfield or Johnny Dangerously.
Yep.
That's it. And Tyree Kinnell. That's almost looked like Evel Knievel. So Tyree Kinnell. Those are your safeties. Those are your safeties. Let's add up the snaps, right? Tyree Kinnell. No snaps.
Okay.
Antoine Brooks Jr. No snaps.
This is my kind of math. Here we go. We're good.
No snaps. Marcus Allen actually snaps at safety. I'm going to say less than 10. Right? Let's say 50.
Probably.
Let's just be generous and say 50, knowing that it's not.
We'll say 50.
John Battle, 0. Antoine Brooks, 0. Jordan Dangerfield, let's just say 100.
Okay.
Right? Let's say
150.
Let's just say 150, make it 200. So you've got all your backup safeties combined, and we are being generous with the count, have played 200 snaps at the position. I was going to say inside linebacker, which is probably equally bad, but the safety position is really bad. That is a huge hole at that position. I cannot disagree at all.
I mean, there were moments in the draft this past a couple weeks ago where I was hoping, I'm like, man, take a safety. Like take a safety that's your ball hawking center fielder, because they need that guy. And it would have answered two questions that we were all looking at. And are they going to move Edmonds down into the box, put in more of that Mark Barron role, which we both think he would fit that role well. They don't have it. So unless they're going to take Cam Sutton and bump him back, I don't think they're going to move Hilton. Hilton plays he's too good around the line of scrimmage, in my opinion. And he's too good of a blitzer to take him and move him back. Maybe they move Cam Sutton back there. I don't know. There's a lot of questions. Let's go with this route. Wes, who I mentioned earlier in the show, he said that he thinks that Pittsburgh has the worst depth in the league across the board. Now, I don't know every team's roster as well as I do the Steelers because I just don't have time for that. But Wes says that let's hear him out. Think about it. If Ben goes down, who plays? If Pouncey goes down, who plays? If one of our tackles goes down, who plays? He's right. He said, who do we have at nose tackle? Safety, inside linebacker behind Ulysses Cobra III, Vince Williams, Bush. He's right. I mean, here's my question though, Lance. Before you answer, do they have the worst depth in the league? Is this a question that every team is having right now? And we are just Steeler fans and we're focused on our own team? Or is this the Steelers have paid so much money to their quarterback that they can't afford quality depth? What are your thoughts?
I'm not even going to answer it from the perspective of the division and big up to Sean Manahan, who said the black and gold Pittsburgh Dashers. That's what it looks like. When you think about it, right? Let's just talk about the division. Their depth compared to Baltimore's or the Browns is bad, let alone the rest of the division, right? Because Cleveland drafts high every year. They haven't put it together because of the quarterback position and the changing of coaches. Baltimore's 14-2, has better depth. Forget the rest of the NFL. They probably have the worst depth in the AFC North, let alone the rest of the National Football League. And it's pretty scary when West pulled back the onion and looked at the roster, and they have significant holes everywhere. It is a Swiss cheese roster. Mm-hmm. Now, the top 11 on both sides of the ball, particularly on defense, is right. The defense is right if nobody gets hurt. If somebody gets hurt, it's bad. Look at the outside linebacker position. That's bad too. I mean, there's no depth at the outside linebacker position or inside linebacker position or at the safety position. I mean, that's all levels at your defense right there. So, oh man, why did I have to ask this question? Now I'm feeling bad. I'm feeling bad. Thanks.
Well, no, see, you said it's a Swiss cheese roster. I disagree. It's not. The depth is Swiss cheese.
Okay. Yeah.
The starting lineup is not bad at all. Yeah. I honestly don't see a lot of holes when it comes to the starting lineup. Look at the defense. Yeah, we complain about the depth at safety, but I like their safety tandem. I love their cornerbacks. We've talked about it. Their defensive front seven, in my opinion, is maybe one of the best in the NFL, at least in the AFC.
NFL, I think, sure.
Then you go to the offensive side, and I like their offensive line, even though they're getting a little long on the tooth. We're not sure about Ben coming off the elbow injury. We talked about that ad nauseum. Running backs, it's a crowded bunch, but I like what they've done there. And wide receiver, they bolstered that with the draft. Again, their starting lineup is not Swiss cheese, in my opinion. It's the depth that you're thinking, holy crap, if there's a big key injury, can they sustain it? And there's only a few positions that I think the answer is yes. One of them is defensive line. I think like if Stephon Tuitt goes down, Tyson Alualu has proven he can step in and he can play. Isaiah Buggs, we're hoping to make a big step in here too. Cornerback possibly with Cam Sutton and Mike Hilton there, with Justin Lane. You got Wormley in there. There are positions where depth is not. I don't even think running back in terms of depth is huge at this point in time. Wide receiver is not bad, but there are some key positions, and we've talked about them on this program that, boy, they make you cringe. It really makes you cringe.
You forgot about Big Dan McCullers.
I didn't forget about Big Dan McCullers. I just choose not to mention him.
With his outstanding depth that Big Dan provides to the defensive line. Yes, I mean, here and with all that you said, Jeff, here's the one guarantee. There are a couple of guarantees in life. You're going to die, you're going to pay taxes, and football teams are going to suffer injuries.
Yes.
Those are guarantees. It is 100% the case. And the Steelers just hope it will be at certain positions where they can sustain themselves, because there will be injuries. And let's just hope it's not to key players.
Let's roll with this. Let's roll with this for a sec. Let's talk about players on both sides of the ball that have a known history of injuries. Okay, and let's talk about the positions. So defensively, first person that comes to mind, Stephon Tuitt.
Do it to it.
He is a young player. He's also been plagued with injuries, whether it was the last year was the torn pec. I think he tore a biceps tendon the year prior or 2 years prior. Whatever the case is, he's always suffering these. And it's not a nagging injury. It's a season-ending injury. And that's a big difference. I'm thinking about maybe would you say Joe Hayden would fall on that list?
Yes, I would.
He typically misses a game or two a season, maybe a little bit more. And so that tests your depth at that position. Inside linebacker, we're not so sure. Vince Williams, he had the hamstring early last year, came back, was durable for the rest of the year. Devin Bush didn't seem to be bothered by the NFL schedule. Cam Hayward has had his injuries, but I don't think it's anything that is consistent enough that I would label him as injury prone. Would you?
Yeah. He's about as close to being an Iron Man as you can kind of get.
TJ Watt falls into that Iron Man category, but Dupree is typically available. The defensive side, you're worried about Tuitt and Hayden, in my opinion. Offensively, good offense, you're talking about Pouncey. He's dealt with injuries a lot. Yes. And that's a position that you're thinking, oh my gosh. Now you're talking about moving Wisniewski or J.C. Hassenauer comes in, and you got to move Filer to guard. It's just a whole slew of issues if he gets hurt. That's an issue. Trying to think other players. Ben, obviously, is a player that has historically missed a game or two. James Conner, well documented. He's not reliable to get through. What about Juju Smith-Schuster? I mean, he was banged up last year. The prior to that, he had never had it. Would you put him in that category? It's only 1 year.
What have you done for me lately? Yes, I put him in that category. Big up to Janet Jackson.
Yep. Ebron, injuries. McDonald, injuries. I'm ready to jump off a ledge. Where's the closest bridge? Anyone point me in that direction?
Point me to the Clementi Bridge so I can jump off. Like with Tuitt, like when you had as many injuries as Tuitt, you just forget them and you just say it was something. It was something. What injury was something? You're right about him. He has devastating injuries. I mean, he gets his money's worth with his injuries. I mean, you can argue it from the perspective of maybe he's fresh. He hasn't played a lot of football, honestly. I mean, he is not.
No.
I mean,
he's been rehabbing for like 5 years.
He's been rehabbing in rehab. Yes, he has. Yes, I mean, Wes, thank you for taking us down a notch, but we love you, Wes. Thank you.
He just went down. We just went down a scary road. Let's not talk about that. Tomorrow's the schedule release. Let's get pumped about that. Prediction, Lance. I think we're all going to say over under Steelers primetime games on the schedule. We'll say 4. You should know where the bet is. It's easy money. Over under 4.
Yeah, I think so. I say over.
It's over. The max you can have is 5. They always get 5. 5, 5, 5. All right. Let's talk about this. You sent me this tweet, and this is from Blitzburg. We're good friends with those guys on Twitter. And John Clayton, ESPN analyst, said on 93.7 The Fan, that's a Pittsburgh radio station for those that aren't aware, that the NFL schedule, well, they're going to take their interconference games. This is what he heard. I'm not saying it's true. They're going to take all the AFC and NFC interconference games and put them at the first 4 weeks of the season. Why? If they have to cancel games, they can cut those, and it's not going to mess with conference record. What do we always say, Lance, when we talk about losses? If you're going to lose a game, you want to lose those NFC games because they're not going to count in terms of other than overall record in tiebreaker formulas late in the year. So that would mean the Steelers are paired up with the NFC East. And so they play the Cowboys, Eagles, Redskins, and Giants. On the road, they would play Dallas and the Giants. At home, they would have Philly and Washington. Thank the Lord we don't have to go to Philadelphia. So that is always a bloodbath.
Philly and who are the home games?
Philly and Washington.
Okay. And the other two
on the road would be Dallas and the Giants. Now, our own Brian Anthony Davis, he actually did a season prediction today, a schedule prediction article for the website, and he predicted, gosh, I hope he's wrong. He predicted Steelers at Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day. I hate when the Steelers play on a holiday. It drives me nuts. I got to do way too much work. I can't sit down and just enjoy family. I hate it.
You're cooking like turkeys. That's why.
I know, and I'm getting a new grill on Friday, a new smoker and everything. Like, I would be doing work and trying to do work. I can't do everything.
As an aside, did you get a Weber smoker?
No. One with Oklahoma Joe's, got really good reviews. A sidecar smoker / I can still use it as a charcoal grill if I want.
Okay, yeah, I got the Bullet, like, whatever. I'm not going to get into. Well, this is not smoking ribs talk, but I got a nice Bullet smoker. The real big one is nice. Right. Anyway, looking at these, because basically I don't want to tease how I pick game. Well, screw it. I'm going to come on the show tomorrow, and you guys are going to hear it. It doesn't matter.
Tease it.
I look at quarterbacks when I pick games. Typically I kind of side on what team has the better quarterback. And given the Steelers team, given that I think the strength of their team is defense, and if the quarterback is the quarterback position. So they definitely beat Washington and the Giants. Those two rookie quarterbacks aren't very good, or young quarterbacks aren't very good. They beat those teams, and I think they split with Philly or Dallas. So if they play the NFC East, I want to have them going 3-1.
Okay. I'm going to
say the opener, they would beat Philly if Philly's the opener. Whoever's the home game for the opener, they win the opener and beat the two young quarterbacks.
The Steelers always play poorly against Philadelphia. I mean, now when they play in Philadelphia, it's even worse. Don't even show up when they go to Philadelphia. Just put an L on the record and just move on with your life. I'll never forget the last time they went to Philadelphia was the game that this is crazy. I remember all this. The winless Dolphins and the winless Browns went to overtime in Miami, and CBS stayed with that game instead of going to Pittsburgh at Philly. And so all the Steeler fans that had to watch on Sunday Ticket were completely blacked out because the CBS station had stuck with the overtime game. What we missed was the Steelers drive right down the field. Ben hits Marcus Wheaton right in the hands for a touchdown. He drops it. Chris Boswell's field goal gets blocked, and all hell broke loose after that. They end up getting crushed. Wasn't even a game. That's why I can't stand. And then Philadelphia was where Ben got almost decapitated. I think he got sacked 9 times, 7,
that's
9
the game where he
times.
got sacked 9 times. Okay.
That was a while. That was like 2009, I think. That was early in 2009. Yeah.
Yeah, my niece was born that day. That's why I remember that game. My niece was born that day when the Steelers got clobbered. He got brutalized. He was running for his life in that game. So I got against the NFC East, I got him going 3-1 to start.
As for my predictions, you will have to tune in tomorrow for my 16-0 prediction, ladies and gentlemen. 19-0, unless they get a bye. That's too much math. I like the 0 + 0 + 0.
Or the 150 + 50 plus all 200. I'm telling you, Jeff, just think of it as reps or calories.
I can do that, man. Just give me sets and reps, and I can figure everything out. But it's just when you get into the minutia, it gets a little serious there. All right. Anything to add, Lance, before we call it a show?
No, except, man, stay safe. Everybody out there, stay safe. If you can stay in, do that. If not, stay safe while you're out. Make sure you take care of your neighbor and be a good neighbor. Like
absolutely
there.
Yes, sir. And then make sure by all means that you are tuning in tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. That is when it might be closer to 8:30, but whenever they release the schedule, we will be on to talk about it. Join us, give us your predictions. You'll hear our predictions. It should be a lot of fun. We did this last year, all 4 of us, and it was a blast. So, Lance, with that said, let's call it a show.
Tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe.
Amen. We'll see you next Wednesday for another episode of The Standard is the Standard. Take it easy, everyone.